Hi, this is Dr. Franklin Allaire from the University of Houston downtown. In this video, we begin exploring Domain D, the Earth and Space Sciences, by getting into Module 8, which covers Science Teaching Competencies 15 and 16. Before we get started, spoiler alert. Please make sure that you filled out the first two columns of your KWL 2.0 chart and have answered the discussion prompts. If you haven't, please pause this video and take about 7 to 10 minutes to write down and share what you already know and what you want to learn about Science Teaching Competencies 15 and 16. Science Teaching Competencies 15 and 16 get us into Domain D, which is the Earth and Space Sciences. Science Teaching Competency 15 reads, the teacher understands the structure and function of Earth systems. Competency 16 reads, the teacher understands cycles in Earth systems. As we've seen throughout this video series, there's a lot wrapped up in both of these competencies. For this reason, they've been broken down into multiple sub-competencies. The sub-competencies for Science Teaching Competency 15 read, the beginning teacher understands the structure of Earth and analyzes constructive and destructive processes, including plate tectonics, weathering, and erosion that produce geologic change, including how these processes have affected Earth history. Understands the form and function of surface water and groundwater. Applies knowledge of the composition and structure of the atmosphere and its properties, and applies knowledge of how human activity and natural processes, both gradual and catastrophic, can alter Earth systems. The sub-competencies for Science Teaching Competency 16 read, the beginning teacher understands the rock cycle and how rocks, minerals, and soils are formed and their respective properties. Understands the water cycle and its relationship to weather processes. Understands the nutrient cycle, such as carbon and nitrogen, and its relationship to Earth systems. Applies knowledge of how human and natural processes affect Earth systems. And finally, understands and describes the properties and uses of Earth materials, such as rocks, soils, water, and atmospheric gases. Now that we've learned about the competencies and sub-competencies covered in this module, it's time to dive a little bit deeper into some of the topics. In the Explore section, you'll be watching some videos that cover various topics contained within the competencies. There are 9 videos in the Explore section of this module that cover the structure and function of Earth systems and cycles in Earth systems. Video topics in this section include plate tectonics, the composition of the atmosphere, the rock cycle, the water cycle, biogeochemical cycles, and the impact of human activity on Earth systems. As you go through the videos in this module, please keep in mind the following guiding questions. For Competency 15, we'd like you to keep in mind the questions, considering the elementary level, how would you explain constructive and destructive forces in a way that's accessible and engaging for students? Can you think of hands-on activities or visual aids that would help illustrate these geologic processes? Imagine you're teaching a unit on the atmosphere. How would you structure your lessons to ensure that elementary students not only understand the basic composition and structure, but also appreciate the properties of the atmosphere? And how might you integrate studying Earth's structure and processes with exploring Earth's history in your teaching? Can you envision projects or activities that help elementary students connect constructive and destructive processes to the changes that have occurred over time on Earth? And for Competency 16, we'd like you to keep in mind the guiding questions. How would you design a lesson plan to teach elementary students about the rock cycle, ensuring that not only do they understand the processes involved, but also recognize the properties of rocks, minerals, and soils? In teaching the nutrient cycle, particularly focusing on carbon and nitrogen, how would you explain these concepts to elementary students? What activities or visual aids could you use to illustrate the relationship between nutrient cycles and Earth systems? And finally, imagine you're planning a unit on Earth materials. How would you engage elementary students in exploring the properties and uses of rocks, soils, water, and atmospheric gases. Can you think of creative projects or experiments enabling students to apply their knowledge of Earth materials hands-on? To help you fully engage in the videos, I strongly recommend downloading the guided note-taking documents. I also recommend having a notebook handy, so that way you can take notes about anything that's covered in any of the videos and to write down some questions that you may still have after watching the videos.